Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY22 earnings conference call of Hindustan Oil Exploration Company Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mrs. Vinita Pandya from Valorem Advisors. Thank you, and over to you, Mrs. Pandya.
Thank you, Margaret. Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Vinita Pandya, AVP of Valorem Advisors. We represent the investor relations of HOEC Limited. On behalf of the company, I would like to thank you all for participating in the company's earnings conference call for the second quarter of financial year 21-22. Before we begin, I would like to mention a short cautionary statement. Some of the statements made in today's con call may be forward-looking in nature. Such forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's belief as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. The purpose of today's earnings conference call is purely to educate and bring awareness about the company's fundamental business and financial quarter under review. Now, I would like to introduce you to the management participating in today's earnings conference call and give it over to them for their opening remarks. We have with us Mr. Elango, Managing Director, and Mr. R. Jeevanandam, Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer. Without much delay, I request Mr. Elango to give his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vinita. Good morning, everyone. Happy to connect with you all on this Q1 FY22 earnings call. Jiva, our CFO and full-time director, is with me, and Valorem Advisors, our investor relation advisors, are also on the call. I hope you all have received our updated earnings presentation. We've also uploaded the same on our website for your reference. Let me start by giving an update on BAT. We have identified an Indian-flagged DP vessel to complete the remaining works of Comboy installation and awarded the contract to an international offshore construction company with relevant experience and competence to execute the works. Safe completion of Comboy requires a calm weather with suitable wave height and swell. As on today, sea conditions are still rough, and the forecast is for conditions to turn conducive by end November or early December. Since the DP vessel identified for the job is already in Mumbai, we are mobilizing the rest of the men and materials required, targeting to commence the works subject to weather by end November, early December 2021. Estimated duration of the works is about 4 weeks, and actual duration depends on site and weather conditions. We will make every effort to complete the works and commence the production as early as possible, and will keep you all updated. To store the oil, our own floating storage and offload vessel, Prem Price, has been mobilized to India after successfully completing the dry dock in Singapore. FSO will be mobilized to BAT location to connect with the Comboy post its successful installation. Gas production and sales will commence in parallel since the gas pipeline from KGB offshore installation has already been connected with the gas export pipeline of ONGC. Using ONGC pipeline, BAT gas will be transported to Hazira terminal in Gujarat. We have shortlisted the empaneled agencies and will be launching the e-auction later this month and conclude the gas sales arrangement in December. As advised earlier, we will initially store the oil produced from BAT to carry out the assay of settled crude to discover the best market prices and sell the oil at the delivery point in FSO. Overall, we are singularly focused on bringing BAT on production mode safely and are monitoring the weather conditions on a daily basis. On the regulatory front, we are getting the required support both from the DGH and from ONGC, as every stakeholder is equally keen to expedite production from BAT. At Dirok, we have continued uninterrupted operations and average daily gas offtake during Q2 has been 41 SCFD, demonstrating a robust demand. Effective 1st October 2021, government notified gas prices have gone up to $2.9 per MMBTU from $1.78 per MMBTU. Based on the e-auction conducted in June 2021, we have executed direct gas sales contracts with 3 customers, and contracts with remaining customers are under various stages of finalization. Terms and arrangements for gas transportation, measurement and delivery through Oil India facilities have been agreed with Oil India. First, direct supply of gas under e-auction has commenced to NRL, Numaligarh Refinery Limited, who are drawing about 3.5 SCFD by paying a premium of over $1 over the government notified prices. Assam Gas Company too is drawing gas directly from Dirok based on demand by paying a premium price. Balance volume is continuing to be supplied to Oil India at government notified prices. Dirok field is now well positioned to meet peak demand of multiple customers directly at a premium price, while protecting daily base volumes through the current contract with Oil India. Over the next few months, direct supply to more customers at premium prices are expected to commence. At Dirok, our strategy of value over volume is now being executed at the field level. Status quo continues in PY1, where the only way to increase production is to drill additional wells. The next drilling campaign in PY1 will be planned after first oil from BAT. As indicated earlier, final investment decisions will be taken after the independent technical assessment and de-risking. In our Cambay assets, we have initiated the environmental clearance process to drill additional wells, and the execution of R2 PSC in our college block has now received the approval of ONGC board and reached the final stages of execution. Similarly, the draft PSC amendment to reflect the increase in HOEC's participating interest from 50% to 60% has been agreed by all the parties, including the Government of India, and it is also in the final stages of execution. At the macro level, prices of both oil and gas have gone up, reacting to sharp rise in demand, signaling revival of economic growth. I now invite Jiva to share the financials.
Thanks, Rango. We report that the company made a revenue of 37.23 crores in the current quarter against 27.56 crores in the previous quarter. In the consolidated accounts, it is 45.14 crores against 31.79 crores in the previous quarter. Increase in revenue is mainly from increase in sale gas in Assam and higher realization for condensate due to the increase in oil prices. The profit on standalone is 17.4 crores against 11.71 crores in the previous quarter. In the consolidated accounts, the profit after tax is 17 crores against 11.11 crores in the previous quarter. The total expenses of standalone, including the DDA, is about 19.83 crores, comparing 15.85 crores in the previous quarter. Operating costs are not linear, and however, the statutory levies, royalty, and cess are ad valorem. In the consolidated accounts, it is 27 crores, comparing 21 crores in the previous quarter, including the adjustment of crude in stock. Operating cash flow standalone for the 6 months before the working capital changes is 37 crores, and in the consolidated accounts is 40 crores. During the quarter, a loan of rupees 125 crores were raised from Axis Finance Limited to meet the capital expenditure of BAT. This rupee loan of 10.75% is swapped with the US dollar at 8.1% per annum. We have also availed a loan of rupees 150 crores from HDFC Bank at 10% with the cross currency swap at 6.25% to refinance a loan of 150 crores from Wyman India Private Limited. We have the support of 2 Indian banks, Axis and HDFC, to support the growth of the business. With the borrowings, the company is levered by about 33% on the book value of the assets. With the market cap, it is about 15% as on date. With the expected cash flow from BAT, we would be able to liquidate the debt at a faster mode than the tenure agreed with the bank. We would like to become the debt-free again. And cash in the company is 109 crores in the standalone and 129 crores in the consolidated accounts. This will enable us to complete the BAT project in a timely manner and to put the field on a revenue mode. If you look at the books, only 30% of the investment in oil and gas assets in revenue mode and 70% in capital work in progress. Investment in BAT as on date is about 733 crores, consists of field investment for oil wells, flow lines, umbilicals, and oil and gas export lines. Mobile offshore processing unit, floating storage offshore, and single point mooring system acquired and operated through our subsidiaries. On commencement of BAT production, all these three assets will be on a revenue mode, which will move from capital work in progress to oil and gas producing assets. Better numbers would reflect on the commencement of cash flow from these assets, which will provide new impetus to the business. Thanks, Ilangu.
Thank you, Jiva. Can we now open the forum for questions, please?
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, please press star and 1 at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ritesh Gandhi from Discovery Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Just had a couple of questions. On this BAT, given we're expected to start work end of November, early December, how long is it expected to take till actual production of oil and gas actually start on a commercial basis?
We are expecting the works to take about 4 weeks' time. Our first priority was to secure an Indian vessel so that both on the cost and schedule front we are in control. So that we have achieved. So the current expectation is, depending on whether we mobilize by end November or early December, and the estimated duration of the works is about a month. In parallel, the activities in MOPU will also happen, and certain activities commissioning activities will happen once the SPM is installed. So if all goes well, then we should commence the production in January.
Got it. And just to understand, obviously, because of reasons outside our own control, like say COVID and the thunderstorm which happened, obviously delays have happened. But is there any other slippage risk expected, you think, between this, or I mean, January is seeming like a conservative estimate for when we'll sort of be able to start?
No, we really don't expect further slippages. But both the weather condition as well as the site condition will determine the duration of completing the work. The major task is really installing this heavy single point mooring equipment with installing that. So that's a task which really requires, to complete it safely, requires a very calm weather. Depending on the weather movement, the duration and the site condition, the duration will be determined. The contractor's estimate is to do that in about 4 weeks, and we built incentives in the contract to get it done sooner, as well as rates that will not allow delay as such. But our priority is really to do it safely.
Got it. And just to understand, how much are the ongoing rates right now in Gujarat for the gas where we are expected to supply to?
No, I think earlier our expectation was about $4 per MMBTU at the market price. But with the current prices, we are expecting the market to be at least $5 plus with the current hardening gas prices. That's what we expect. And we will know once we complete the e-auction, but that's our expectation.
Got it, sir. And is there any update on actually Kharsang as well?
On Kharsang, Kharsang is currently producing about 600 barrels of oil. It is on ad hoc extension mode. Some of the cost recovery issues are being addressed by the operator with the DGH to reach a mutually acceptable solution. Once that is resolved, then the PSC extension will be granted on a 10-year basis, post which the drilling and further development activities will take place. But the oil price is stronger. We expect those things also to be completed maybe in a couple of months' time.
Okay, got it, sir. Sir, and just a last question on Assam, just to understand effectively, so given this effective e-auction where we're getting a small amount of premium, on how much of our volume would we be getting the premium?
So roughly between currently 10 to 20% of our volume is getting the premium. But okay, over the period, whenever there is a peak demand, we'll be first addressing the premium customers while protecting the base volume.
Got it. Understood. So, I mean, a net on a blended basis, given the quantities, etc., how much of a premium compared to the normal would we be receiving?
So, overall, we are targeting a realization of about $4 per MMBTU on a mixed basis. Right now, it's 2.9 on a gross calorific value and 3.2 on a net calorific value for existing, and the premium will be about $1.
All right. Thank you, sir. I will turn back to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nirbhay Mahavar from M Square Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Just wanted to understand what would be the time required from first oil production to first oil sales? What would be the duration?
Sorry, first oil production to?
First oil sales.
So we expect about
the storage capacity is about 900,000 barrels. So even if you look at 5,000 barrel production per day, it is about $150,000 a month. 150,000 barrel a month. So normally we look at after 2 months, we will like to make an offtake of about 150,000 barrels. So after that, it will be a continuous offtake, and first offtake will take 2 months.
So when we are saying that we'll be able to do first oil sales in FY22, we are expecting production definitely to begin by first early January. Would it be correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Correct.
Yeah. Another follow-up on the longer term outlook. We have mentioned that earlier. We have mentioned that our BAT will take our net oil production to 7,000 barrel, and then we have scope of taking this to 14,000 barrel by our existing fields. So what would be the time frame, and if we can give some sort of direction on like how this will move from 7,000 to 14,000 by which field and when?
Yeah. Now what we are kind of targeting is what we are targeting is, first of all, it's 7,000 barrels of oil equivalent, including oil and gas component. That's one. And what we stated is really our existing discovered resources in Dirok, PY1, as well as fields and in minor fields in Cambay. Together, they will be able to contribute to this doubling of production. And our target is to do that in about 24 months after first oil. So to that extent, we have initiated the environmental clearance process across all these three assets. Both Dirok, we've already secured the environmental clearance. PY1 and Cambay environmental clearance process is already initiated and progressing well.
So would it be fair to, let's say, project exit run rate of, let's say, the FY22 exit run rate of net oil production of 7,000 barrels, which in FY23 will become probably 10.5 and then 14. Is that math correct? Directionally.
We will give you an asset-wise update post the BAT, but it is fair to project an exit run rate of 7,000 barrels of oil equivalent at the end of this financial year. After that, our priority will be to, between the three assets, where we get where we are ahead as far as the rock is concerned in terms of the regulatory clearances. PY1 is also our priority, Cambay also. So our plan is to run multiple campaigns at the same time by beefing up the organizational capacity. And we'll give you update asset-wise after the.
Fair enough. Thanks a lot, sir, and congratulations for the excellent scale-up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dixit Doshi from Whitestone Financial Advisors. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. My question is answered. Just couple of clarification. Firstly, so my basic understanding is that monsoon has already been over. So is it only the weather which because of which we are targeting to start the work from December, or is there any other reason as well?
It is purely weather. Because installing this convoy will require a particular the wave height to be below 1 meter. That we have forecast the end of November. So we will be ready to mobilize by end of November and wait for a couple of days to see if weather conditions are stable and to move. So the vessel is already in India and it is available for mobilization. We are in parallel mobilizing few men, but we get an advanced forecast on weather condition, particularly the wave condition in our location. Based on that, we are planning end of weather November would be suitable, because mobilizing earlier would involve heavy risk.
Okay. I mean, second thing is, now you have been earlier in the May, last year May month, you were saying only 8 to 10 days work is left, and now we are targeting that the work will last for almost 4 weeks. So what has changed?
Yeah, I think last year when we left the job undone, if we had a continuous 7-8 days, we could have finished the job. But now, when we have to restart the whole thing, so another survey need to be done as soon as the spread goes. So we've engaged with the best consultants and the contractor, and this is the best estimate that we got. So unlike this is not, if you had continued the job in the previous campaign, it would have taken only 7-8 days. But now they need to go position themselves at the appropriate places, etc. Make sure all the tools are required, are rigged up, etc. So it's about continuing the job when you are fully mobilized between starting remobilization. That's the difference.
Okay, and just one last thing. You mentioned, just a clarification, did I hear correctly that let's say if the first oil comes out in Jan, the revenue in the P&L will start from March after 2 months?
Actually, it is when I have a stock in trade, it's mark to market, so it will be reflected in the revenue, but cash realization comes after 2 months.
Cash realization will come after 2 months. Okay, and for both oil as well as gas?
Gas can be, even that revenue cycle would be little earlier for gas, but because gas cannot be stored, it will be sold as such, but we will be taking a month realization earlier. Oil will take 2 months, this will take a month.
Okay, that's it from my side. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akshay Ajmera from Nirzar Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. So we are hearing that through media that Petroleum Ministry is keen that ONGC should involve private and foreign partners to develop, especially the small discovered fields. in Bombay High and Basin region. So how big is this opportunity for companies like us, and who else do you think can be the potential bidders domestically or foreign, if you can share that? And my second question is linked to the first one, that what is the probability of these kind of discussions moving in the right direction? Because so far we have seen a lack of desire from ONGC and giants like PSUs like ONGC. It is really very rarely seen that logical things to happen swiftly, or at least they have very different thought process. So what are your views on these two things?
See, in terms of the opportunity set, I think the government has been quite vocal and clear that because 90% of the ONGC's production is contributed by 10% of its field, and 10% of its production comes from the 90% of the field. The government is very keen that it involves private sector, both international as well as domestic private sector players. Now, as far as the international scenario is concerned, that you see that you're not seeing a trend in which companies are entering any new countries. Existing players may look at the opportunity. That's one part. In terms of the opportunity set within ONGC, both there is onshore and offshore. Onshore, there are multiple smaller players in India who can look at these opportunities. In offshore, we see there are only very limited players with offshore production experience, other than Vedanta, Reliance, and HOEC. Nobody else has got the experience of producing from offshore. Therefore, the competition for offshore would be generally limited. Onshore is slightly more. Now, as far as HOEC is concerned, as we said, our focus is first to bring BAT on production, and immediately after that to look at expediting the drilling campaigns across Dirok, DY1 as well as Cambay Basin within our existing resource potential. And then as we build, look at other opportunities. And we believe that we are well positioned because of our experience in offshore, both in Western and East Coast, to look at these opportunities. But on the second part of your question, yes, there would be, there is the government stated objective, then how much of it gets into real action. From what we have seen in the past, this enhanced contract for enhanced recovering oil has not gone down too well because of the commercial terms are not attractive. So unless it is, but we do find attractiveness in the discovered small field route, which the government is auctioning directly. So if the government ultimately decides to take the field's nomination field back to its fold and roll it out as a discovered small field, maybe that will ensure a faster execution. That's my personal take.
That was very helpful, sir. Just a quick follow-up. So, how according to you would be this opportunity in terms of volume? That what you have mentioned is, that 10% of the ONGC's production is from 90% of the small discovered field. So, how much that will be the volume or the size of that opportunity? That's one. And second is, if the government is auctioning the fields directly, then what is the percentage of the total discovered fields which government can directly, auction to players like HOEC?
You see, what is happening is, ultimately all the fields belong to the government, right? Some have been
even the ONGC ones.
No, including ONGC. ONGC also gets the license to explore or produce from the field from the government. So ultimately, the government issues the license to both ONGC. There are two regimes. The ONGC used to get it under what is called nomination regime directly from government, and subsequently you have NELP and pre-NELP and now NELP and HELP, in which is a bidding round as such. So what the point I was making is, so far ONGC directly taking partner that route has not been very effective. That's the track record so far. But when the government auction it out, it has a set policies and procedures, and you've seen that doing it much better. That's the point, limited point I was making. That if the government takes over or takes back the field and auction it out, that would, from an execution point of view, that has a much better clarity. That's one. In terms of the size of the field, it's very difficult to say. But typically, any field which has got potential to produce more than 10 to 20,000 barrels of oil per day, I'm sure ONGC would be focusing and developing them. Typically, fields which is below 5,000 barrels or below 10,000 barrel range are the ones which have not got the adequate attention, particularly in offshore, because it is challenging to develop small fields in offshore. It is not easy. It's not something that everybody can play. Our own experience has been, despite our best effort, we could not complete it at one season. That's the fact. Because some things are in your control, some things are out of your control. So I would typically expect fields of 10,000 barrels petrol size. That's one. The second thing is, what is the undiscovered potential in the block, in these blocks, is something to be looked for. Our own experience in BAT has been quite interesting. That in addition to the known areas, we're able to identify more resources, which we would be targeting in future. But the overall point is to remain very sharply focused for any company to be successful. The moment you acquire more than what you can handle, you'll end up losing the focus.
Much appreciated, sir. Much appreciated. So clearly, what we think is that the opportunity is very big, and how well we can execute it and how fast these things move is the only things that needs to be watched out for. That can be the key.
Yes. Yeah. That'll be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for taking the effort, and wish you all the best for the BAT one and the other projects that are there.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Suresh from Samatwa Investments. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. So my first question is on PY3. Just wanted to know.
You, Mr. Suresh, may I request you to come closer to the phone or speak a bit louder? Your voice is slightly low.
Yeah. I'm audible now?
This is better. Thank you.
Yeah. My first question was on PY3. So are we still associated with the development process of that field? Just wanted a clarification on that.
Rohit, we are, our stake in the production sharing contract is intact. We are a party to that production sharing contract. Our stake is very much intact. As far as the current development is concerned, we had not supported the development as was being presented by the operator. We have not consented to that method. I don't want to get into detail, but we have not given our consent to proceed on that basis. But the other two parties in turn decided to proceed, which is both ONGC and the remaining parties are proceeding, and in terms of deciding few tenders, etc. So that's where it stands. We have a right to get back to the block depending on what progress and certain terms and conditions are mentioned. So what we had decided is to really stay focused on BAT for the time being, complete that, and look at what way the field is being developed, and then take a decision on that basis.
Okay. So because I read somewhere that the new FDP for PY3, they were planning to increase the production from 4,500 to around 11,000. So just wanted to get an understanding because whether we will be benefit from that if it's successful or not. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Teja Shah from Unique Stock Broking Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Can we understand what is the cost overrun that we have done on that BAT, that since your 150 crore is already utilized and you have taken another 125 crore loan, and you already had a cash balance also of some 75 to 100 crores. So what is the total cost overrun that we are having on this project right now?
See, this cost overrun in this project is in the order of about 100 crores, and that is the reason we look for additional resources of 125 crores to put the field back on production. So with the increase in volume support and this cost overrun is akin to the business, which we are in subsidy development. So it's not quite alarming, which is within the manageable limits.
Okay. And can we understand what is the amount of oil we are looking at from BAT and amount of gas? And if you can quantify it in terms of rupees, means let's say 100 crores will be oil or 50 crores will be gas. If you can give some, and what is the base average price realization that you are looking at?
Is the price we cannot determine, that will be determined by the market as such. So we are looking at
overall market, only overall market scenario only we are looking average prices.
That's right. We are looking at a gas at $5 in Gujarat and about $70 to $80 oil price in for the volume of oil which will be selling on it. And this will make us into about net cash to us about 25 to 30 crores per month. So with that, we will be able to repay all the debts and other things within a year. So we'll be back on business with no debt, at least within a year plus.
Overall, we are targeting 100 crores bottom line from the BAT per quarter.
I told you this is 25 to 30 crores per month at the current price scenario.
That will include oil and gas both.
Both.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sai Das from Knightstone Capital Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for taking my call. Sir, I just have a bookkeeping question. So the profit from your associates for this quarter, you have shown a loss of around 2 crores. Can you please throw some light on it, please? Thank you.
Yeah, because we have they have not closed the books of account as on 31st March when we given our accounts to the thing, and subsequent to it, they wanted to make some tax adjustments which will help them on the cash flow. We said okay. So with that process, there is a loss on the previous year on the audited accounts which got accounted in the current year.
Okay, so basically it was perhaps a bookkeeping entry from previous year. Am I right?
That's right. Yeah, and that will improve the cash flow of the associate.
Fair enough, sir. By associate, I'm assuming Craftsman, the operating entity of Craftsman.
That's right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Balakrishnan from iThought PMS. Please go ahead. Rohit Balakrishnan from iThought PMS, your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible? Sorry.
Yes, you are audible.
So just one clarification. I joined a bit late in the call.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Balakrishnan. I would just request you to please speak on the handset mode. Your audio is not very clear.
Is it better now?
Slightly better, yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, I joined a bit late in the call. I just wanted to know for the BAT in terms of our gas price, what is it that we are looking at? If you can just share that.
No, we said we are looking at about $5 per MMBTU, the current market range. $5 per MMBTU.
Got it. And sir, you mentioned, I think in the last question's answer, that we are looking at 25 to 30 crores of monthly at the from BAT at the current price levels as a final net profit or net back final. This is for us, right? For HOEC or the field you are talking about?
For HOEC.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
For HOEC.
Fine. I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pradumya Dalmia from Lansdale Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi there. Good afternoon. I just wanted some clarification on the refinancing of debt that was mentioned. Could you just maybe repeat that once more? And also there was some loan taken from a related party. So, are you saying that has been refinanced and paid back as well?
Yeah. See, we have taken about 150 crores loan from a related party, Viaman, and with that we have secured additional 10% of the participating interest and some other capital expenses requirement at a 12% interest rate. Now this is getting refinanced by HDFC Bank at 10%. With cross currency swap, I am getting around 8% net to the company. So that is why we refinanced the entire 150 crores. The additional debt we added is about 125 crores from Axis Finance to meet the capital commitments of BA. So effectively, that 150 is for refinance, 125 for additional capital.
Okay. And the additional 125 is at what rate?
It is about 10.75 with the cross currency swap. It is about 8.1%.
Okay. And the entire 150 has been paid back.
Yes, it has been fully paid back.
Okay. And the primary reason for this was, for which the refinancing was done, was to save the interest.
Interest rate, as such.
Okay. The money was not called from, the related party, or it was not that they wanted.
Right.
To...
Now, no more related party investments in the company, particularly on the loan side.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of B. Prasad from Equity Strategies. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Firstly, congratulations, Mr. Elangovan, for a very good achievement in BAT gas and oil production. My question is now that I think we are very sure that the oil will be out in late December or late November or early December. The only thing I want to understand from you is in terms of risk assessment. In actual oil production scenarios, what is the risk level at the final stage? I mean, you end up getting more gas instead of oil, or it could be a total disaster also that your whole studies have gone wrong in terms of risk happening. The probability could be very less, it could be 1%, but still, what are the risk elements that once actual oil comes, the scenario could be totally different than what you anticipated earlier?
Mr. Prasad, in our business, the disastrous scenarios really occur at the exploration stage. That you spend millions of dollars to drill a well. Let's say you look at a deep water well, you're investing $100 million or $50 million to drill a well, and you may find it dry, and that's a disastrous situation. Right?
Okay.
Typically, once you go into development drilling, you are very sure about the existence of the resources because that has already been established. In BAT case specifically, ONGC had drilled the wells and tested the oil based on which they had assessed certain resource base, which further we studied, and we drilled the well and tested the oil as well. Right now, from our MOPU, we cannot see the oil, but we can feel the oil in terms of the pressure profile. Right? We've got our pressure instrument. We can monitor the pressure right now. Therefore, the risk of opening the well and the well not producing is zero.
Okay.
Now, because we have done extensive testing before determining the rate of oil as well as gas, we expect it to pretty close to our estimate, which is 5,000 barrels of oil per day and about 12 million cubic feet of gas, tails gas per day. Now, what post the drilling, what we identified further work is this field is more an oil-prone field than a gas-prone field. So, if at all a scenario will emerge where the oil production may go up slightly, and we will also be prioritizing in future development on oil. So that scenario of this field not producing does not exist as such. I want to clarify, we are only going to mobilize the spread by end November, not commence the production by end November. The work that we will have to take is estimated to be about 4 weeks. So as we said, we are targeting production after the installation only.
Okay, got it. And can you also throw a light on all your futures where the possibility of getting oil is more or less established, apart from you have, very clearly stated in all the presentations, but where the next big find could be after BAT, where what are you targeting? Which is the most lucrative one, very low-hanging fruit after BAT?
Our own business strategy is to focus on low-hanging fruit. Therefore, we've not really taken any exploration risk. All our portfolio of blocks, except 2 of them, or except 1 of them, everything has a discovered resources. But each block will have a different size profile as well as the risk profile. Our priority, as I said earlier, is to focus on, our next focus would be after BAT, is on Dirok, PY1 and Cambay, as well as based on about 1.5 years of 18 months of production from BAT, further drilling in BAT as well.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all the clarity.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rakesh Parekh from Barclays. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Sir, just a small wanted to understand now we are the oil production from the BAT has been postponed by another 1 month or so. So when we will start that bidding for the gas distribution or pricing for it, discovering the price for it?
Now we'll be launching it by in this month, so that we will conclude the sales arrangement by December. That's it.
By December. Okay, thank you. And previously you had been mentioning about that oil production will start, but we'll be able to realize by the March. So can you just clarify? Means you will be storing it in MOPU and then selling it, or how? That's why you're mentioning up to March.
Yeah, we have a floating storage vessel called Prem Pride, which has a capacity to store 900,000 barrels of oil, which is equivalent to 6 months of production. What Jiva was explaining is, we would initially take the oil to that storage vessel, store it, and then we'll take a sample of settled crude, do a crude assay, and by the time in about 2 months' time, we would have enough volume to sell it to the market as such. In the first month itself should have about 150,000 barrels, which we can sell it to the market and realize the price.
Okay, so then it will be post that it will be every 2 months we'll be able to sell one.
Typically, the parcel size is about 240,000 barrels, but there are vessels which can take smaller barrel parcel size as well. But normal standard size is about 240 what the Indian refineries use. So they would be sending the vessel picking up from our tankers. The delivery point will be our FSO.
Okay. And just from your experience, what would be the discount to the standard price one can expect for our kind of a crude?
Our crude, in terms of its quality, is this is low sulfur and light crude, and typically quite close to Brent. But we will do a proper crude assay and then come up with a discount to Brent, and then engage with the buyers. Obviously, the buyer would be looking at to ensure that we do it correctly. We wanted to initially start the production, take the sample from settled crude, not really from the testing period crude. Yeah. Okay. And because there are multiple refineries which can use this crude, we could do almost like a e-auction mode to identify buyers on a regular basis. And as the refineries get used to the crude, its valuation will improve.
Okay. And sir, now this BAT, I will say next 1 month or so will be behind us. The very immediate, what will be the next plan to, or which site will be planning to get it live as such?
In terms of the regulatory process, we are ahead in Dirok, and the offtake has also been good. We will give priority to Dirok, and PY1 being a 100% owned HOEC will also get the priority. So we would be, post BAT. I think the important thing to understand is the size of the organization we would strengthen the organization capabilities further to ensure that we are able to take multiple projects at the same time. So far, our strategy has been do one project at a time. Post BAT, we should be able to simultaneously handle 2-3 projects at a time. The 3 key projects will be in Dirok, PY1, as well as in Cambridge onshore.
In our presentation, sir, this PY1, this approval clearance is still awaited for the renewal. So, do we see any risk over there?
Dirok, we don't see any risk.
PY and I think so. Karsanga or one more field we are seeing some.
No, what is happening is the government has taken a position before they grant the renewal for 10 years. They would like to reach settlement on their whatever is outstanding claims from their point of view, royalty or cost recovery issues, etc. And almost every blocks have got some issue or other. As far as the PY1, the issue has been deferred to the Dispute Resolution Committee. Therefore, we don't see any problem in securing the extension once we resolve that issue. So until then, the government is granting ad hoc extension to both fields to all the fields. But there is not a single field in which the extension has been denied.
Okay. Thanks. And sir, this Dirok, the e-auction, so offtake has been as per what has been committed, or how we have seen because this is the first quarter where the auction on gas we would have sold in the market.
Yeah. See, in the auction, we've got about 0.3 million cubic meters on a firm basis, and the remaining about 1 million cubic meters on fallback basis. The fallback basis, whenever there is a peak demand, the customers, we will have arrangement to sell the gas to them. So among the 3 customers who got a firm basis, 2 of them have started taking the gas, and over the next quarter, we're expecting more to join. And what we need to keep in mind is when we went for the auction, the government gas notified prices was 1.7. Right now it's already 2. So the customers will take that into account also. But whatever the arrangement we have is quite nice. That every day we look at what is the demand for premium gas, which is government notified prices plus $1 at least, and then we meet that demand first. The balance gas goes to Oil India. So currently, as I told, about 10 to 20% of our volume are going under premium mode, and the balance is going to Oil India. Our effort would be to increase the premium mode. That purely is determined by the market factors and demand factors.
Thanks, sir. And so just last question, this Dirok phase 2. So when do we see, probably, or we target it to be delivered as such?
So I think in Dirok, as Rakesh has earlier mentioned, our focus was really to on getting more value than focusing on the volume side. And with that only we launched the e-auction. The auction has been executed successfully. Now we are going through a phase in which we need to, ensure we need to check the demand at different price points as such. So far the feedback has been good. In parallel, we are moving ahead with phase 2. The only thing we are waiting is the forest clearance to lay the pipeline of 38 km. That we have not yet secured. We should be getting it in about a couple of months' time. So that fits in pretty well with our BAT completion. Post that, we will start the work. And the entire project there, the longest lead critical path item is laying that 38 km pipeline, which could take about 18 to 24 months.
Okay. Thanks. That's it from us.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hitesh Doshi from Nirzar Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
So, sir, what kind of ROC we can generate from BAT as per current estimate of volume and say reasonable oil and gas price of say $50 and $5? So that is number one. And
see, our fundamental basis is we don't get on any oil and gas projects if the return on capital is less than 21% post-tax.
25
will be 21% post-tax.
Right.
Okay, so this will be well fit within that.
This would be well
fit within that at any oil price.
But can we reach as high as 35-40% ROE at $50-$55?
It depends on the price. See, we cannot increase the volume below the ground, but if the price increases, we will be able to increase our return.
No, assuming oil is at $50-$60.
That's what I told you. No, at $35, we look at a 21% post-tax.
Okay. And thank you, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Potti from Marshmallow Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, sir, and thank you once again for a very detailed commentary in the conference call. My first question is on something that you mentioned on the monthly revenue of 25 to 30 crore on BAT. Is it including the asset base and subsidiary that will be giving it on lease the entity for production and storage, or is it excluding purely the sale of oil and gas alone?
It's purely on the sale of oil and gas. The two subsidiaries would earn revenue on its own for the charter gas, which we agreed with the joint venture. That means we have a concept of outsource at the block level and resource at the corporate level.
Okay, so that technically would be additional to the 25 to 30 crore per month that you mentioned, right?
Absolutely, it is fine. That should at least give us $1 million per month. That should be about 7.5 to 8 crores.
Perfect. And one additional question on BAT again is, let's say you mentioned $70 to $80 oil price. So in that assumption, what would be the government take on revenues on a per day basis? Would it be around 35% of revenues produced per day?
So actually, this is a progressive model which the government has come. That is one called LRR, that is a base rate, that is up to 11-12%. And then the highest is at 55% over $1 million. So any revenue which is 12 plus what is between 12 to 55, which would be proportionate to the extent of the numerator would be the actual sales and the denominator would be the $1 million. So in that case, if you look at, we always getting into a revenue mode of $400,000 per day, we would be in the order of around 22 to 25% on the revenue share to the government.
Okay, so the target is to generate around $400,000 a day.
That's right. Because that will keep my volume back into the reservoir, and when the low price regime, I can make more volumes, and the less price regime, I can increase the volume, and high price regime, I can lower the volume.
Understood. That was helpful, sir. And on BAT again, the question I had was, we are looking to drill additional wells after checking the performance in the field for how long? Is it 6 months, 12 months? I didn't get that number correctly.
Actually, what happens, this is the field which is having about, we identified 5 sands, and we are producing from the 2 sands. Additional 3 sands, we need to drill additional 3 wells. These 3 wells, we will be targeting after minimum of period of about 16 to 18 months. With the 18 months with the production, we will know the field potential in a clear manner. Then accordingly, we target to drill 3 wells, additional wells. We have got 2 slots in the risers already in the MOPU, which we can connect. And the third one, we have to work it out the ways and means to connect it. Then we are also looking at any opportunity for the water injection to enhance the field recovery itself. That is also study is going on. So unless we put the field on production for 6 to 12 months, our material balance would be little difficult to assume it. So we are targeting drilling 3 wells firmly after 2 years.
Okay, so that was helpful. And will the lead time for additional production from BAT be as long as it was for bringing it on stream like today, or regulatory and material procurement, and will the timeline be much shorter next time around?
No, next time around we have got everything as such. Now we have got an experience of what we have done for the 2 wells. That would be in the order of say less than a year for 3 wells together. But the point at issue is actually we will be able to. We don't want to flog the field in such a manner that goes out to substantial volume, and we will be maintaining our volume level at the order of around 400,000 barrels. That will increase the field life for about 15 to 20 years. That's our target as such. That will give a sustenance revenue to the company for a longer period.
Yeah, that point is well understood. And otherwise, regulatory FDP or any approvals will not be required for the additional drilling, right?
No regulatory approvals are required because this is actually a revenue sharing mode actually. Then they cannot be forced on us because a committed well is 1 well. We have already drilled. There won't be any commitment on this. This is purely a discretionary capital which we will be spending on this.
And so the additional 3 wells, will it be the revenue from that be part of this particular sharing that we have, or will it be again from zero? We do the formula of 12.
No, it will be within the sharing. Now, whatever the wells we are increasing the capital expenditure to increase the life of the field. That is our fundamental basis. So any well which will be start depleting after some period in time. So to whatever the depletion it takes will be put on the new well that will get arrested the decline. In a way, the plateau of that field goes up to substantially a longer period. So that will give a good sustenance to the company as such. That's what we plan at the moment.
Oh, understood. So overall, we are trying to maintain the 400,000 barrels for as long as possible, even with the additional wells. That's the idea. Understood.
That's the idea.
Okay. Thank you so much for this. It was very helpful. I'll get back into the queue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sameer Patel from Savi Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for this opportunity. Sir, I just want to dwell on the volume offtake from DROC through the e-auction route. You said that 10 to 20% is what is currently happening. But how do you see that number going ahead, say in next 6 months to 1 year? How much volume do you think can go through the premium pricing?
Yeah, I think generally what we've seen, Sameer, is the offtake in Assam is generally seasonal, and really the demand from the power sector and fertilizer sector would kind of determine the increase in volume offtake as such. So our definitely we expect the mix to increase at least to 50% in about 3 to 6 months time frame.
Okay.
And you'll have occasions where if the peak demand, and we have got a flexibility to also increase the production. We've done about 42 million cubic feet per day, or we have the capacity to do that. So the whole idea is whatever is the demand in the market from various customers, we'll be able to will be able to meet that as such. So therefore, we've gone into this arrangement where there is a firm offtake for 0.3 million, where they will 0.3 million is about 30% of the total production of direct capacity. Right? So that 30% is firmly committed by 3 customers. They will have to either take or pay for it. Therefore, that will happen. Now, the remaining customers are on fallback basis, which means on a particular day, if they need more gas, they can always send the demand, and we'll be able to meet that as such. That is something our current expectation is we should be able to touch the overall 50% mark in about 3 to 6 months' time.
Okay, got it. So that's for the current production, and whatever we are targeting is the second phase. There, you think all additional volumes should go through the premium, or it's the same mechanism that will work?
Yeah. Now the key thing in Assam is the major customers. Remember, the Maligarh refinery was going for an expansion. Is going through an expansion, and to meet their additional demand, the government was planning to bring in imported LNG from Paradip through a pipeline network all the way to the Maligarh refinery. That was you all remember the eastern gas network is being built to bring in gas outside of Assam to meet some of the demand in Assam, particularly the Maligarh refinery, as well as the fertilizer plant when it goes for expansion. In a demand constrained, in a supply constrained scenario which was prevailing, it was like a Yagar chicken situation, where the companies could not expand their plant because gas was not available, or production could not increase because demand was not there. So our target is now with the DIROC and followed by us. There are a few other private players have come in. Oil India is also increasing its production. Therefore, we see a situation where the demand of Assam gas could be met through domestic production by and large. Now, one of the things we wanted to control was the key infrastructure of the pipeline from Duliajan which connects from Kusijan to Duliajan. That gives us the additional strength. So let me put it this way. So we will control the production in a manner to achieve the premium demand as we go through, and we will maintain the flexibility.
So almost for all the volume, for all new volume generated.
That will be my target, but I can't today commit because a lot of things need to fall in place.
Okay, got it. Okay, sir, got it. And one more last question. So this e-auction, when you do, it must be for a particular period, right? And then you can have an option of doing it again, or how does it work?
So for this we have done a 2-year contract for this auction, and we have got an option to extend the contract under the same regime or go for new. But typically the major customers are really the same number of people. There are refineries, there are couple of power sector players, there is fertilizer, there is a petrochemical plant. So these are the 4, 5, and all of them are public sector units. So for them also, this is a very major shift to first of all take gas from a private company, and second to participate in an e-auction, and third they have so please understand, we have not built our own infrastructure. Today we are using the entire facilities of Oil India to deliver the gas of a single meter. So the first priority would always be for Oil India to meet the base demand. The premium demand will be met by DIROC gas. That's how we have kind of positioned as such.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thanks a lot for the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vaibhav Badjatya from HNI Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thanks for providing the opportunity. Sir, in FY 23, basically from April 2022 to March 2023, what would be, based on the current pricing scenario that you earlier highlighted, on a console basis, what would be the profit before tax that we can generate, assuming that our BAT is completely operational?
The caveats you mentioned about the price as well as the production online.
Yeah.
The bottom line should at least triple that whatever we are having right now. That is about 30% of the value. Now it will increase at least by 2 times more than that. So we'll be targeting somewhere around additional 200 crores. If everything goes well, it is subject to the production online, production offtake, and then the price as such in the current environment. Put these as variable factors, we should be able to reach to the additional 200 crores profit.
Okay. And you're talking on a profit before tax basis, right?
No, because we have any tax credit already with us. So a couple of years we don't have any problem as such.
Okay. So that tax credit will continue for 3-4 years? Or how many years it will continue?
It will continue. We have about some 800 crores. That will continue for about 3 years, 2 to 3 years.
Okay. And in this additional 200 crore, basically you're saying additional, so it will be around 300 crore. What would be the, given that there is large CWIP, which portion of which will be capitalized, what would be depreciation that you are taking in this estimate?
What is that?
The depreciation that you are taking in this estimate?
See, depreciation as such, it will be in the order of about, net cash is about some 70 to 80 crores.
Okay. Additional, or you're talking about the total now?
See, now the additional, so we are looking at actually about, say, 70 crore investment, $70 million. Our volume is about, say, 20 million. So it's about $3 per barrel. So depending on the actual production, it will be around roughly in the order of about 70-80 crores.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that was the last question for today. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Elango for closing comments.
Thank you, everyone. And just want to reiterate that our first priority is to bring BAT on production mode safely as soon as possible. And we are monitoring the weather very closely. Once first oil from BAT is achieved, our focus will be to drive production growth by monetizing the discovered resources in our existing portfolio. To achieve this, we've already filed application to secure environmental clearances to undertake development drilling campaigns in Dirok, PY1 and Cambi assets. Thank you all for joining our call today. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Hindustan Oil Exploration Company Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.